now I want to talk about meaning links. And there's 3 classes of meaning links: prepositions, pronouns, and conjunctions. And these words connect or link other words, phrases, and clauses to make meaning. Dutra and Moran refer to these words as the mortar words. They're the words that act like lexical glue to connect ideas. And they're tricky because they're words that are like meaningless, right? Basically by themselves. They have to be with other words to create meaning, but they're super important to link meaning. They're also considered or called cohesive ties, and that signal how information is related in text. So I'm going to start by talking a little bit about prepositions. Prepositions show relationship in space or position, and then relationship in time. Some express space and time. They function, like I said, as a signaling relationship between words. And you could see an adverbial prepositional phrase, where the dog ran, and you can see an adjectival or adjectival prepositional phrase, which dog ran. Here's an excerpt from Number the Stars, and you can see there are prepositional phrases in every text that kids are going to read. And so they have to understand, how do those prepositions work? How do they function? They always are part of a phrase. That means they're always going to have a noun. And again, if I had more time, I thought I would have so much time with 3 hours, but it goes so fast. But I would have had you take some time to look for a prepositional phrase in the text that you brought. What I will point out to you that there are these concrete prepositions that you see the list of. This comes from a presentation William Van Cleve did a number of years ago. So these concrete prepositions, but we also have advanced prepositions that are also tricky. And you're going to find these prepositions in, like I said, every text that you teach. And they're challenging because they're not as concrete as other parts of speech or building blocks. So to make it more digestible, understandable, we make use of real concrete objects, use content-related images for producing some of these where phrases, when phrases, and instruct students to use the preposition to expand sentences. So for little kids, we'll just use objects and put them in or over or under to show the position of the prepositions and what they're signaling. And then when students are reading sentences, we're going to have them expand, the noun, where the chrysalis is, where the caterpillar is, where the butterfly is, where. So they're going to answer these questions or fill in the blank with a prepositional phrase that answers the question, where. One of the things that we might ask our students to do is to deconstruct a sentence. And that's another technique that's very effective if you have a sentence that maybe you think is going to be challenging. This is an excerpt from The Empty Pot. You might, first, you're going to ask yourself, what kind of sentence is this? Is it a simple, compound, or complex sentence? And we know that it is what? A compound, because it has a coordinating conjunction and the conjunction, as I said, is and we're going to ask questions about the first clause. Who or what is the sentence about? It's about news, right? And what kind of news? Special news, right? And what did the news do? It created. What did it create? Excitement, right? So you can just go through questioning or asking these questions to help students deconstruct or make sense of the sentence. And then you would do the same thing for the second clause. And again, in the interest of time, I was going to have you do this yourselves and jot down the questions you might ask of this second clause. Children from all over the country swarmed to the palace, but your questions would be similar to these. Another example of a very challenging sentence from Hatchet. How would we get our students to deconstruct this sentence? How can we get them to understand this complex sentence? First, we want them to find the verb. Okay, we could ask them to find the subject and the predicate, right? But let's say we're going to have them find it. You don't find that verb until here, dropped. Look at all this text that precedes the word dropped, right? And so now we have to figure out what dropped, and we have to go back now and reread the sentence. It's the windstorm that dropped. What did it drop? It dropped pines, right? Where? Across each other. So again, you do the sentence deconstruction through a set of questions that you ask, and kids can then piece together and make meaning of the sentence. And I've just color coded it here. That's another strategy you can learn, you can use, where you're chunking the text in these grammatical entities, whether they're phrases or they're clauses, whatever they may be, but they're really there to create the meaning that we've talked about is so important. Another meaning link is a pronoun. I'm not going to show this video, but it's on our YouTube channel. You'll see one of our mentors who teaches very explicitly how pronouns work. We use the same questions as we do for nouns, right? For students to be able to know which, what he is referring to in this first set of sentences. The dog sat on a rock. Who's he? He is the dog, right? The farmhouse stood. What was white? It was the farmhouse. So we can have them put an arrow back to the noun that the pronoun is referencing. And just to give you some text from Nya's long walk that I showed you earlier, look at all the pronouns in this on this one page. What is who is she referring to? What does she mean by it's too far? And you've walked this. What's this refer to? So again, these pronoun reference are in all the texts. Our multilingual learners have a lot of trouble with these pronouns. Here's a higher level text from ReadWorks with Alexile 1050. And this text also has a lot of pronouns in it. And the simple thing to do is just have the students find the pronouns and then draw a line back to what the pronouns are referring to. The third class of meaning links are conjunctions. So conjunctions come in two varieties. They can be coordinating, or they could be subordinating, where they're joining unequal parts. And here's a list of conjunctions, right? The coordinating junctions, the fanboys, and the subordinating conjunctions. And this is just a short list. There are many more than these, but I like the way these subordinating conjunctions are categorized by time, place, cause, manner, because conjunctions are hard for kids. Again, they're very abstract. Some of them are more concrete than others, but by and large, they're pretty abstract, but they're super, super important to building coherence when kids are reading.